What's going on, guys? Greg Howe here. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, which is I'm going to be breaking down a solo that I played for the title track off the new Darwin album, Distorted Mirror. There's the cover. You can check it out right there. This was a fun solo. It was challenging, but it was kind of a fun challenge. And I think the challenge for me was trying to figure out a way to successfully convey really the whole Darwin premise, a lot of which centers around futuristic subject matter and the contemplating of like where we're going with technology, and the possible mayhem and chaos that's going to come with this exponential pace at which we are advancing with technology and AI and all that stuff. So there's that side of it, the chaos side, but there's also the somber side or the sad side of dealing with the reality of this dismal, sterile, gray, colorless, synthetic world. And in the main solo, I was more or less referencing my own storyline, which probably had nothing to do with the storyline that Darwin had in mind when he came up with that section. But I do think it successfully captured the mood or the broader sort of premise at hand. So really just think Black Mirror, the popular Netflix series that I'm a huge fan of. That was the basic mindset I was working from, that sort of dystopian future visual. So let's have a listen to the solo and then we'll run through it again and you can get a front row look into my weird mind. All right, so this section actually happens twice, and what you're hearing is the second one. The first one actually happened 8 bars before this, but basically this one's prefacing the solo. And you can hear that I'm applying this weird two-handed sort of sequential pattern that I've used for years. It's surprisingly easy to execute, but yet it really sounds pretty intense. And I thought it was a perfect thing to do in this section. When you play it fast, it really sounds sort of robotic and kind of computerized, almost like a MIDI sequencer or like background music for like a first-person shooter game, that type of thing. But like I said, the sequence is pretty easy to play. You're playing a hammer and a tap and a pull. That's it. And I'll show it on the video, but you're just going like hammer with the left hand or the fret hand, right, and then tap and pull off. And then go to another string and do the same thing. So I went to the G string, I skipped over a string. Get my mute here. That's the technique. That's all you're doing. Right, so let's check it out in slow motion on here because I'm actually changing notes to accommodate the chord changes in this part of the song. So let's check it out in slow motion. So here it is, the slow motion isolated. right, so you can hear the simplicity of that hammer tap pull sequence and how it sort of takes on a totally different texture when it's sped up. Even isolated, you can play it at the normal speed. So that's what I was talking about in the beginning with that sort of very synthetic sound. I really like that technique when I'm trying to sound almost robotic or machine-like. This part's cool. So that part was interesting for me because, they came up with this really cool part that's in 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I ended up descending on a basically a 4-note sequence descending, like against this 7 thing. So the accented notes in my descending 4 become displaced when 7 starts over again. So it was really cool. I had to actually do some math to get to know exactly where I needed to start in order to end where I wanted to end, because I had a very definite idea about how I wanted to end this. So that was a really cool part. And, the wah being in there a little bit, I think added to the digital nature of it. It just makes it feel a little bit more synthetic. So that part was really a fun part for me. Let's see if we have that isolated as well. So this next section is really the improvisational part of the solo, right? And like I said earlier, I was really kind of referencing my own storyline for this, but keeping the spirit of the whole Darwin premise here. So yeah, let's have a listen again to this solo section. All right, so that was fun. To me personally, this section made me picture something like AI awakening in some form, maybe to a new level of intellect or a new level of self-realization, maybe just becoming more aware, more self-aware, but also becoming like more amped up because of this new awareness, and even starts recognizing maybe its own potentially destructive nature. And then because of that, having this cognitive dissonant response, which eventually leads to a decision to self-destruct. I know, I watch way too many movies, but these are all just sort of abstract interpretations. They're all just ideas designed to get me in a mindset entirely for the sake of bringing the emotional weight for the solo. Also, once again, I really enjoyed the wah thing. The wah seemed to really enhance this whole digital sound in some weird way. And sections like this are really fun because they're so open and non-constricting. You're not confined to some specific tonality even. So you can really treat it like this blank canvas that you can just start throwing notes on. And in this case, it seemed really appropriate to start getting outside of it, getting some dissonance that might be, reflecting the cognitive dissonance of the AI entity that I keep referencing. It was cool. I really enjoyed playing over that part of the song. And now the band is going to ramp it up a little bit, and we go into new territory. This is kind of the self-realization, coming alive, starting to, now the sparks are flying, this thing is getting crazy, right? Whatever it is, it's coming alive, but it's got a violent thing about it. So it's starting to become unhinged. It's starting to dismantle, self-destruct, if you will. So I really enjoyed sort of getting into that thing. So here, let's back it up a little bit. that's basically the solo. Now, that last part that you were listening to was obviously the whammy pedal. You can see that. That was loads of fun. I don't know where that auditory vision came from, but I just remember hearing that in my mind and thinking, what would that sound like? The whammy pedal is great, especially for this music, because it has built into it that sort of synthetic, not organic sound. So anything you do with it just sort of sounds futuristic. So it was fun to just play these legato lines and then land on a note and just hit the pedal. I think I had it set to go up a fifth. Just kind of do that at these random spots. And it really seemed to accurately nail the sort of energy that I was going for and exactly what I was picturing. I'm really picturing like this AI entity just kind of coming unhinged. I don't think that this had anything to do with what Darwin had in mind, but it really helped me to get a solo that I felt good about. So anyway, that's kind of how my brain works when I get into this stuff. It's good for me to have a vision where I'm not just looking at scales and looking at frets. I'm looking at a story, and that really helps to inspire me to play stuff that I think is a little more interesting than it would have been otherwise if I weren't thinking that way. So anyway, there you have it. And like most of the Darwin solos that I've worked on, I really enjoyed creating it, really enjoyed recording it, and hopefully you guys enjoyed getting into my weird mind, seeing how it operates. And either way, check out the album. You're really going to enjoy it. And until next time, peace.